there are song sheets that can be given to the new people. So, Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Vihari Gopi Jana Vallabha Girivaradari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Vihari Gopi Jana Vallabha Girivaradari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Vihari Gopi Jana Vallabha Girivaradari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Vihari Gopi Jana Vallabha Girivaradari Yashoda Nandana Braja Janaranjana Yashoda Nandana Braja Janaranjana Yashoda Nandana Braja Janaranjana Yashoda Nandana Braja Janaranjana Yamuna Tiravanachari Yamuna Tiravanachari Yamuna Tiravanachari Yamuna Tiravanachari Hare Krishna Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama Hare Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama Hare Rama 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 Hare Hare Jaya Radha Natavara Radha Natavara Radhe Jaya Radha Natavara Radha Natavara Radhe Jaya Jagana Jaya Jagana Jaya Balam Deva Jaya Subhadra Jaya Jagana Jaya Jagana Jaya Balam Deva Jaya Subhadra Jaya Gauranika Jaya Gauranika Jaya Gauranika Jaya Gauranika Jaya Gauranika Jaya Gauranika Gauranika Jaya Gauranika Jaya Prabhupada 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 Jaya Prabhupada. Please repeat after me. Krishnaya Vasudevaya Krishnaya Vasudevaya Devaki Nandanaya Cha Devaki Nandanaya Cha Nanda Gopakumaraya Nanda Gopakumaraya Govindaya Namo Namaha Govindaya Namo Namaha Namah Pankajanabhaya Namah Pankajanabhaya Namah Pankajamalini Namah Pankajamalini Namah Pankajanetraya Namah Pankajanetraya Namaste Pankajangraye Namaste Pankajangraye Om Jnanatimidandasya Jnananjanashalakaya Chakshurunmilitam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha. Jai. Thank you all so much for coming again. ISKCON Sunday Dish program. Yeah. Did I send this material too? Looks like there is some technical difficulties, so I need to change my laptop.
Sorry, today is the first day of the Sunday school, and We have been in the Zoom,
Oh,
but
Zoom.
we brought it in person. But there is
Zoom doesn't work. Sorry. Okay. Welcome all of you to ISKCON Sunday Feast program. I was planning to give a 2-part or 3-part seminar on forgiveness. But I was preparing for the class. I was planning to do this sometime in October or November. That was my plan. But last night I was called and asked, can you give Sunday Feast class? I thought, okay, let me try. So I have some notes I prepared in this matter. We heard this term, forgive and forget, many times. Right? Is there anyone here for the first time to this one? Welcome all of you. So you heard about this, forgive and forget. So in life, we go through so many situations where we get hurt by different individuals. Sometimes if a person who is not known to us very well, if somebody hurts us, if somebody does something to us, it doesn't really hurt if you don't know that person. For example, you are going in a train or a public bus or somewhere on the street, somebody bumps into you, they say something and we don't care much about it. Or they say something, we just ignore and move on. It doesn't hurt, it doesn't really hurt us that much. But when somebody who is very close to us, when they do something to us, how do we feel? It's very, very difficult for us to forget and forgive. Right? It's very difficult. But unless we forgive the other person in a relationship, it is going to hurt us even more. So forgiveness is not about other person, but it's about us alone. So, and a lot of times we think that, is it really practical to forgive and forget all the time? Okay, sometimes you say, no, it's impossible. How can we forgive somebody? They committed such huge offense, huge mistake. They hurted us so badly. How can we forgive? It's not practical all the time. We think like that. Or sometimes we say, we may forgive, but we cannot forget. That's like almost impossible. Okay, we may be able to forgive somebody, but we cannot forget what they did to us, right? So the question comes to our mind: is forgiving and forgetting, is it first of all practical at all? Or can we do this? So fortunately, we have beautiful scriptures, Srimad Bhagavatam, Bhagavad Gita, and many wonderful scriptures, where there are many pastimes and stories where our Supreme Lord Krishna himself exhibited forgiveness. How he forgave, many instances, how he forgave. From these pastimes of the devotees and the Lord himself, we can learn certain things. So today, we will try to discuss few pastimes from our scriptures and see how we can apply that in our life. Okay? So we will take a verse from Srimad Bhagavatam, 9th canto, canto 9. It's a simple verse and a simple translation. It's canto 9, chapter 15, verse 38. So you can repeat after me. Rama Rama Mahabaho, Bhavan Papam Akarasit, Avadin Naradevam Yat, Sarvadeva Mayam Vritha, Rama Rama Mahabaho, Bhavan Papam Akarasit, Avadin Naradevam Yat, Sarvadeva Mayam Vratam. Translation. O great hero, my dear son Parashurama, you have unnecessarily killed the king who is supposed to be the embodiment of all the demigods. Thus you have committed a great sin. Committed a sin. So the context of this verse, this comes in Bhagavatam 9th canto, 15th chapter. This is about the incarnation of the Supreme Lord Parashuram. So Parashuram is one of the incarnations of the Lord. So here, who is speaking this verse? This particular verse is spoken by his father. Who is Parshuram's father? Jamadagni. Jamadagni was asking Parshuram, "Oh Parshuram, you have unnecessarily killed the king So who King is supposed to be the embodiment of all the demigods, those who have committed the sin. So the pastime goes like this. The background of this particular statement, why Jamadagni is asking Parshuram saying that you committed the sin, and who was the king that was killed by Parshuram. So once upon a time in the history, in Satya Yuga, there was a king named Kartavirya-Arjuna. Okay? Kartavirya-Arjuna. He was a very, very extremely powerful king. So by the blessings of Dattatreya is another incarnation of the plenary portion of the Supreme Lord himself. So by the boon of Dattatreya, Kartavirya-Arjuna, he got blessed with 1,000 arms. We have 2 arms, right? But Kartavirya-Arjuna got 1,000 arms. So because of that, he got excessive power. Right? So when there is excessive power and position, sometimes what comes into picture? The pride. So he became very prideful. He became very proud. Because of this, he got puffed up with all this power. So once what happened, this Kartavirya-Arjuna, he was playing in the water. There was a river called Narmada river. So he was playing in the river with many other women in the water. He was enjoying in the water. With his 1,000 arms, he blocked entire river, the flow of the river. Just you can imagine, 1,000 arms, he can do many things. So he blocked the entire river. So then what happened? The river, instead of going forward, because of that, it started flowing backward. So, and the Kartavirya-Arjuna's kingdom, the name of the kingdom is Mahishmati. So does that ring bell? I know where you guys are going already. So this is not the same Mahishmati that Rajmouli created, by the way. This Mahishmati was there even before in Satya Yuga. So Rajmouli copied that from there. So Mahishmati was the kingdom of Kartavirya-Arjuna. So right next to that Mahishmati kingdom, there was a camp arranged by Ravana. So you all know Ravana, how powerful Ravana was. He was extremely powerful. Ravana was extremely powerful. Because this river was completely blocked by Kartavirya-Arjuna, water started flowing backward. And then it inundated the camp of Ravana. So Ravana got extremely angry because he was also very, very powerful and he's arrogant too. He's not a saintly person. He got very, very angry, and then finally he came to know that this is done by Kartavirya-Arjuna. So Ravana comes to Kartavirya-Arjuna and challenge him. Then Kartavirya-Arjuna is extremely powerful, more powerful than Ravana. So he just captured Ravana, just like a person captures a monkey, that easily. He captured Ravana and he put him in jail. And then he insulted him thoroughly and then he left him. Okay, just go. Because he's insignificant. Ravana was insignificant in front of Kartavirya-Arjuna. That much was the power of Kartavirya-Arjuna. So he left him like that. So that was the power of Kartavirya-Arjuna. So then this powerful Kartavirya-Arjuna, puffed up because of the power and all these things, once he was going to a forest to hunt. Usually kings do that, they go to the forest to hunt, and along with all his entourage, with the soldiers, many soldiers, thousands of soldiers and ministers, they all went to the forest. Then during the time, they wanted to take some rest, and in that forest there was a great sage named Jamadagni. Jamadagni was one of the very, very powerful sages, wonderful sages and brahmanas. So when a guest comes, it's a responsibility of any host to treat them properly, give them good hospitality. But what do you get in a small, in a forest? But still, Jamadagni, he invited Kartavirya-Arjuna. He gave so much hospitality, and he served everyone, the king and also all his soldiers, thousands of soldiers, very nicely. How he could do that? Jamadagni had a special cow called Surabhi cow. Surabhi, the cow is Surabhi. Surabhi is kind of a wish-fulfilling cow. It's a Kamadenu. So you ask for anything, the cow gives that. That's the speciality of the cow. He had the cow. So the cow supplied everything, whatever was needed to serve this king and the entire entourage. So he served very nicely. By seeing all these things, the Kartavirya-Arjuna became envious. How come there's such a beautiful, such a powerful cow is with the simple Brahmana Jamadagni? I think this cow should belong to me, I should take the cow. So he became envious of Jamadagni and he wanted to get the cow. Jamadagni said, no, it should belong to here and blah blah blah. But then Kartavirya Arjuna did not listen to Jamadagni with his entire army. He stole the cow and he insulted Jamadagni and took away the Surabhi cow to his kingdom, back to Mahishmati. So you are all with me so far? Right? So now, so far it's okay. Jamadagni did not want to do anything. Jamadagni, his wife name is Renuka. So they had many sons. Jamadagni and Renuka had many sons. And the last son, name of the last son is Parshuram. Parshuram is extremely, extremely powerful. Very, very powerful. He is an incarnation of the Lord himself. So you can imagine how powerful Parshuram would be. And when Parshuram comes back home and he understands what happened, that Kartavirya Arjuna insulted his father Jamadagni and stole the Kamadhenu or Surabhi, immediately became very, very furious and angry, and he rushed towards his kingdom, Mahishmati. Then by looking at Parshuram with bow and arrow and axe and everything, Kartavirya Arjuna sent all his army, entire army, to fight with Parshuram. And what is the strength of his army? 17 Akshaunis. Okay? Do you know how many Akshaunis fought in Mahabharat war? Mahabharat war was one of the greatest battles ever in the history of the humankind. 18. It was 18 Akshaunis. Akshaunis had a number of count, like 60,000 infantry, 25,000 horses, like 40,000 or 50,000 elephants. So this is one Akshauni. Like that, Mahabharat war, there were 18 Akshaunis total. 11 on Kaurava side and 7 on Pandava side. That was the strength of the war at the time in Mahabharata. So Kartavirya Arjuna's army was 17 Akshaunis. He sent 17 Akshaunis to fight with Parshuram. And Parshuram was such a powerful personality. He was fighting. Do you know what kind of speed he was fighting with? He was fighting at the speed of mind. Do you know what is the speed of mind? Can you imagine what is the speed of mind? We cannot even calculate what is the speed of mind. I can be here and my mind is somewhere in India, somewhere, within few seconds I can be everywhere. Within few minutes I can be everywhere. My mind can be everywhere. That is the speed of mind. So Parshuram was initially fighting single-handedly at the speed of mind. Okay? After a few moments, he got tired and then he started fighting at the speed of wind. Can you imagine the speed of wind? So that was the power of Parshuram. So he fought with all these 17 Akshaunis of army, and he chopped their arms, the legs, the heads, everywhere. Everywhere you can see entire place was full of heads, arms, and legs. Completely blood was flowing. That was the situation at that point. By looking at all these things, Kartavirya Arjuna gets extremely furious, and then with his 1,000 arms, 500 bows and 500 arrows, he comes to fight with Parshuram. Then he starts fighting. Kartavirya Arjuna shoots all these 500 arrows at one shot with 500 arms, and then Parshuram, with his skill, with his single bow and arrow and with axe, he chops down everything, and including all his arms, all Kartavirya Arjuna's arms, and then he kills Kartavirya Arjuna also, Parshuram. So he kills him, and then comes back home. So that's when Jamadagni is saying here. What is Jamadagni saying in this particular verse? Oh great hero, my dear son Parshuram, you have unnecessarily killed the king, who is supposed to be the embodiment of all the demigods, thus you have committed a sin. So in this particular case, Jamadagni is telling, you should have forgiven Kartavirya Arjuna. Right? So, but Parshuram did not forgive him. He went and killed Kartavirya Arjuna. So if you look at this situation here, so what do you guys think? Was Jamadagni right by saying that you should forgive the king? Or was Parshuram right by killing him? What would you do in this situation? If you were asked, if you are the judge, what would you say? Who is on the side of Jamadagni and who is on the side of Parshuram?
Depend on which you got there.
You are taken back into such a yuga, same time. What would you do? What would you do? Yes.
I think that Kartali Arjuna did not kill anybody. He stole the cow Surati, but he had not committed murder. And so since Karishma had cut off all his arms, his power was gone. So there was no need to kill the king. The act of killing the king was excessive after cutting off all the arms.
So it was too much of a punishment. Yes, he committed a mistake, but that was an extreme reaction by Parshuram. That's what Mataji thinks. So whatever Parshuram did is not correct. So you are supporting Jamadagni to forgive him.
But Parshuram is Lord, so whatever he does.
Whatever he does is correct. But if you consider him as a Supreme Lord, yes, ultimately whatever Supreme Lord does is correct. But keeping that aside, that Parshuram is the Supreme Lord incarnation. But what would you say?
The cow belonged to Jamadagni.
Yes, cow belongs to Jamadagni.
So, if he is willing to, he let go of the cow and he didn't want, so then Parshuram should not have killed. That could be one argument.
Okay. So the one argument is if Kartavi Arjuna let the cow go back to Jamadagni, Parshuram wouldn't have done all these things. He would have become so angry and does whatever he did. Okay. So that's
one more is he can go for a dialogue and see, like, okay, you did a mistake, it is mine.
negotiation.
I don't know whether he'll accept or not, but that's first try instead of directly going and waging a war.
Okay. So we could have gone, Parshuram could have gone and then discussed with him and asked him for giving the cow.
He was also supposed to set an example.
Parshuram was supposed to set an example. King was supposed to set an example. Yeah, but he did not do it. So he was very, very arrogant. That's the reason Parshuram wanted to teach a lesson to all the future kings. That's the reason he did that. He was very, very popular king also.
Parshuram could ask Jamadagni because permission before he did that because it's his father. Right?
Yeah, he could have asked, but Parshuram was extremely angry because here Jamadagni also tells Parshuram, this is what he says: my dear son, we are all Brahmanas and have become worshipable for the people in general because of our quality of forgiveness. Forgiveness is one of the virtues or qualities of a Brahmana. Brahmana, especially Brahmana, should not take any offense and they should forgive. It is because of this quality that Lord Brahma, the supreme spiritual master of this universe, has achieved his post. So, and also king who is an emperor is more severely sinful than killing a Brahmana. Killing a king is more sinful than killing a Brahmana because he was protecting the praja. That's the reason you should not do that. And then we'll come back to that point, who is right, who is wrong. But I wanted to poll the audience, what you guys think. But then finally Jamadagni tells, Parshuram that you have to atone for this sin. Whatever you did, you have to atone. So you go to holy places for 1 year and you serve the holy dhams and you practice Krishna consciousness and you meditate and then you come back after 1 year. So Parshuram, being an obedient son, he agrees this, accepts this proposition and then goes out for 1 year. So then Kartavirya Arjuna, he had 1,000 sons. So all these sons, once the Kartavirya Arjuna got killed, all these sons ran away, because they could not face Parshuram, his anger and how much powerful he was. So all these 1,000 sons ran away from that place. But then these 1,000 sons still had something in their heart because they wanted to take revenge against Jamadagni and Parshuram for what Parshuram did. So then after 1 year, Parshuram came back. Then what happens? Jamadagni's wife, Renuka, her name is Renuka Devi. So Renuka Devi, once she goes to fetch some water from a nearby river. So to perform some sacrifice, daily rituals, Jamadagni performs daily rituals, and Renuka Devi, she goes to a nearby river to fetch fresh water every time for this ritual. So like a usual thing, she goes one day to pick up some water from a nearby river, and then where she sees a great personality called Chitraratha. He's a Gandharva. So Gandharvas are extremely beautiful and handsome. So this Gandharva Chitraratha was playing in the water with many beautiful women. By looking at Chitraratha's beauty, Renuka is one of the very, very powerful personalities with Pativrata. But just for a second, she falls for him. She thinks about him, just for in her mind. And then she forgets that she came for a task to fetch some water for her husband's daily duties. So she thinks for a few seconds and then immediately she realizes, oh, what did I do? I am not supposed to do this. So I should immediately go back to my husband and give this water. So then she picks up the water and goes back to Jamadagni and keeps the water there and she stands right there. Jamadagni, being a great personality and a wonderful Brahmana, he understands, he could see what was going in his wife's mind, Renuka's mind. He understands that Renuka saw somebody and she got that attraction for a moment. So Jamadagni, what he does, Jamadagni gets extremely furious because of that. He gets very, very angry for that action. And he calls all his sons, Jamadagni's sons. He calls all his sons and says, you go and kill your mother right away for this offense. For the simple act she did, you have to kill your mother. The son says, why to kill my mother just because of this? And they say, no, we don't want to kill my mother, our mother. So they did not want to kill. Then Jamadagni gets even more angry and then he calls Parshuram. Now you kill your mother and also all your brothers because your brothers are also not obeying me. So you kill your brothers and mother. Immediately without thinking, not even without thinking a second, immediately Parshuram takes his axe and he chops off his mother's head and also all his sons, all his brothers. Immediately does that. Of course, in the purports, Prabhupada explains why Parshuram does that. So Parshuram clearly knows that if he satisfies his father, father will give the boon again. So the father gets really pleased, Jamadagni gets pleased by his act, then immediately Jamadagni asks Parshuram, so you pleased me by obeying my orders, immediately you did this. So what do you want? What kind of boon do you want? Immediately Parshuram says, I want my mother and all my brothers back alive, but they should forget whatever happened. He gets that boon. And so Jamadagni becomes very pleased and immediately they become happy. Right? So then after some time, we are coming to the story. Okay. So then meanwhile, once Parshuram and all his brothers, they go to forest to do some chores. And during that time, when Jamadagni was performing his daily rituals, so the 1,000 sons of Kartavirya Arjuna, they were very, very angry. They wanted to take revenge because Parshuram killed their father. So they all come, attack Jamadagni, they chop off his head and take the head also to Mahishmati. They take him. So then by looking at this scene, Renuka Devi immediately starts crying and calling for Parshuram. Parshuram, wherever he was like hundreds of kilometers away, miles away, but still he could come immediately within a fraction of a second. He comes there and understands what happened and he goes and he fights with all these 1,000 sons of Kartavirya Arjuna. It was mentioned, the description was mentioned in one of the purports that it was like a pile of the mountain of heads. He killed all these 1,000 sons and then he chopped off all the heads of, and then he brought back Jamadagni's head and then he does some, he worships and he prays. Then the head gods join with body and again Jamadagni becomes alive. So he does that. So now Jamadagni, at one point when his Surabhi cow was stolen by an arrogant king, he said, forgive, you should have forgiven the king for the act that he did. And the same personality, just because his wife had just had a thought, she did not really commit any mistake also, but the thought came into her mind. Because of that, he took an extreme action of killing her. He wanted to kill her. Right? So that's the background of this. So in this particular case, so what should have been done? Whether Jamadagni, whatever the punishment that Jamadagni got, he got killed by this 1,000 sons of Kartavirya Arjuna. So they got, his head got chopped by these 1,000 sons. So that is because when he was supposed to act in a proper platform, he reacted to the situation. Okay? So Jamadagni reacted to a situation where a minor small mistake that was committed by his wife, he could not tolerate that. And then he went to an extreme to kill his own wife. So for that, he had to face the reaction. So in this world, every action, we have to face some reaction. Every action that we perform, we are going to face some reaction. So that's why one has to be very, very responsible, whether we are forgiving, whether we are forgetting, whether we are punishing somebody, whether we are acting in any way. We have to be extremely careful how we are reacting to the situation. So Jamadagni, because he acted in a way which is not, which is not proper, he reacted in such a harsh way. So he had to face the consequences of that. That's the reason he went through this punishment of getting his head chopped off. Okay? So another example that we can get from our scriptures is Devaki and Vasudeva. So that comes in the 10th canto. This we are discussing 9th canto. In the 10th canto, Devaki Vasudeva, you all know, Devaki Vasudeva gets married, and then Kamsa was taking them in a chariot. Then finally, the celestial voice tells, oh fool Kamsa, your eighth child of Devaki is going to be cause of your death. Immediately Kamsa puts them in jail, right? And then Vasudeva tells him, why do you want to kill Devaki, your own sister? The child is the danger for you, not your own sister. So as soon as a child is born, we will give you. So eighth child is the problem, right? Eighth child is the problem. So as soon as each child is born, we will give you. And like that, so first 6 children were brutally killed by Kamsa, right? So first 6 children were killed, but when the 8th child was about to be born, so 8th child was transported from Devaki's home to Devaki to, after Krishna was born, then Vasudeva took Krishna to Madura, at Gokul. And then the Yogamaya came here, Durga came here, Kali came here. So then when Kamsa was about to kill the 8th baby, then immediately she says, oh fool Kamsa, I am not, this also. So then Kamsa understands his, whatever he did, then he repents for what the action he did. Then he goes and begs forgiveness from Devaki and Vasudeva. He says that, I committed great sin, I killed all of your children, please forgive me. That's what, Kamsa says. So Kamsa did all these things, but finally he goes and begs for forgiveness. Then what did Vasudeva and Devaki did? They did not say that, you killed all our 6 children, so I am not going to forgive you. They said, we forgive you. So with heartfelt forgiveness, they said, wholeheartedly, we forgive you. Vasudeva forgive. But did he forget? Did Vasudeva forget whatever Kamsa did and whatever Kamsa wanted to do? Kamsa's mood is still to find Krishna and kill him. So Vasudeva, what he did, he forgave Kamsa. Okay? He forgave Kamsa for whatever he did wholeheartedly, but he did not forget. That's the reason he did not tell him where Krishna is. Because he knows what he did and what he's going to do, based on the history, based on what he's going to do. What Vasudeva did, I forgive you wholeheartedly. But he hasn't forgotten what he did and what he's going to do. That's the reason he did not reveal where Krishna is. So that is one lesson we can learn. Sometimes we can forgive a person who did something to us, but we may not forget those actions immediately. Okay? We can forgive immediately, but we may not forget those actions. So we have to see if these actions are being repeated, how many times the person is repeating these actions. Based on that, if the person is completely transformed, then you can say you can forget those, whatever he has done. But if the person is behaving again and again same way, then we cannot forget those kinds of things. And we have to be extremely careful, and we have to maintain safe distance with that person. So if somebody does something to us for the first time, it is that person's mistake. But if you allow the person to act on you again and again, whose fault is that? It's our fault. First time if the person does something to you, it is that person's fault. But if you are allowing the person to do that to you again and again, the problem lies between both parties, not only that person. Now you have to blame yourself also. Since you are allowing that to happen, the other person is blaming you. So we have to be careful, we have to forgive. That's a wonderful virtue one should practice. And when we forgive somebody, God will be very happy. Krishna will be extremely happy for our nature. Because when we forgive, the lot of burden is off our chest. It is for our good. It's like if you want to take revenge on somebody, you are holding a heartburn coal in your hand and you are trying to throw at somebody. So it's going to burn only your hand, right? So similarly, you forgive that personality, but forgetting, it will take some time. We have to be careful when to forget and how to forget that. So even during Ramayana, so another pastime where in Ramayana also, towards the end of Ramayana, the Yuddha Kanda, what happened, what Lord Ram did, first he sends Hanuman, okay, Hanuman to Lanka. So Hanuman goes and he tells that, now at least give Sita back. I am such an insignificant servant of Ram. I am just one insignificant servant of Lord Ram. I can burn the entire Lanka with my tail. I have that much power. Just imagine how much power Lord Ram has, and with the entire army. So this is the time. Even if you give back Sita now, Lord Ram will forgive you, and he will forget everything. But then what Ravana does, he was very arrogant, and he doesn't do anything about it. Right? He tried to insult Hanuman and sends him back. And then once the bridge is built, then what happens? Did Lord Ram give up on forgiving, giving chance to Ravana? No. Again, he sends, after the bridge is built, he sends Angada again. Angada for peace. Again, he says that Angada goes to Ravana and says, even now you have a chance to give back Mother Sita to Lord Ram. Lord Ram will not do anything to you. Just give back Sita. Still, Ravana doesn't listen to Angada also. So finally, the battle between, the fight between Ravana and Ram happens, and Ram kills Ravana. And it is mentioned in our scriptures that even the day before Ravana was killed, Ram had a hope that even now, if Ravana comes back to me and hands over Sita to me, I will forgive him. That was the mood of Lord Ramchandra. So, but Ravana doesn't hear. He repeatedly makes the same mistake again and again and again. Finally, Lord Ram kills Ravana. But after that also, Lord Ram was very forgiving. He tells Vibhishan to go and do final rites to his brother. Vibhishan was very adamant. How can I do final rites to such a heinous, crooked person, who is evil-minded, wicked person? I am not going to do final rites. But Lord Ram says, no, it is your responsibility and duty. The person who committed this sinful activity, that person is dead already. The body is dead. The soul is gone. So whatever the suffering the soul has to experience, that has been experienced already. So now we have to forgive that person and then still go and do the final rites. That's another example from our scripture. And similarly in Mahabharata also, Vidura. There is a Vidura, who is Vidura? Do you guys know who is Vidura? Who is Vidura? Yeah, but in Mahabharata.
Dhritarashtra's half brother.
Yeah, Dhritarashtra's brother. Yeah, half brother. Right? So he's a very wonderful devotee. Right? Very pious, very wonderful devotee of Lord Krishna. So he was a brother and he was also well-wisher of Dhritarashtra. Right? So as Pandavas and Kauravas were growing up, Kauravas were doing so many atrocities against Pandavas. They tried to kill many times. Kauravas tried to kill Pandavas many times. Once they constructed a Lakshagruha. Lakshagruha means lakh house, it is called, which is completely inflammable. Even a little bit of fire, the entire house burns. That was the house they built. It was a tricky thing. They sent Pandavas to that house with the intention of killing all the Pandavas. So the Kauravas sent Pandavas to that place, and then after some time, Dhritarashtra hears the news that Pandavas are no more, and we don't see we don't see them anymore. We don't know where the Pandavas are. Then Dhritarashtra gets really concerned. Then he starts feeling bad. He starts feeling repenting. He starts feeling repentant that, oh my God, what happened? Why did I do this to Pandavas? My own brother Pandu's sons. Why did I do all these things to them? And he wanted to confess this with Vidura. So he calls Vidura. Dhritarashtra calls Vidura and confesses that, I don't know why I did like this. In a spur of a moment, I got influenced by my own son Duryodhana, and I did this heinous act. So I don't know what to do. So then Vidura says that, I told you when, O king, my dear brother, I told you when Duryodhana was born. I told you how wicked Duryodhana is going to be. Usually when a child is born, child usually cries. But then when Duryodhana was born, he was braying like a donkey. That was a very inauspicious noises, sounds were coming when Duryodhana was born. So Vidura suggested at the time, this son is going to cause so much havoc in the future, it is better to kill him right away. It is better to kill Duryodhana right away as a child. But then Dhritarashtra did not hear. Because of that, now because of one person's influence, one wicked person's influence, remaining 99 brothers also became so wicked and cruel, evil-minded like that. So even now, I would suggest you to kill all your 100 sons. Otherwise, they are going to cause more problems in the future. So by hearing this, Dhritarashtra gets extremely angry. How can you tell me? Until then, he was confessing, he was feeling very sorry. But as soon as Vidura tells Dhritarashtra to kill his own sons, he gets immediately angry and says, how can you tell me to kill my own sons? You get away from my palace. You go to forest, get away from my palace. So then immediately Vidura goes to the forest. Then after a few minutes, again Dhritarashtra feels bad. Oh, why did I send my brother Vidura back? Can we relate all these things? We also have this mentality. Sometimes we act in a harsh way, and after a few minutes we realize, oh, what did I do? Why did I have to do like that? And we repent. So we have this Dhritarashtra mentality in all of us also. So Dhritarashtra was feeling so bad, and then again he calls back Vidura. So like that, multiple instances, multiple insults that happened to Vidura throughout Mahabharata also. But Vidura, what did he do? He also forgave Dhritarashtra every time. But at the same time, he tried to protect Pandavas. He helped Pandavas in a different way so that Pandavas do not get harmed. But he forgave Dhritarashtra every time he committed these kinds of activities. He forgave Dhritarashtra. But again, Vidura did not forget what he was doing. If Vidura forgets whatever Dhritarashtra is doing, then he could tell all the secrets of Pandavas also, wherever they are, whatever they are doing. But Vidura was also, he was forgiving, but he was not forgetting what he was doing. Okay, so that's another thing. So as devotees, it is basically forgiveness means, especially for devotees, those who are practicing Krishna consciousness, what does it really mean by forgiving somebody? What does it really mean? So for us as practicing devotees, forgiveness means we do not hold other person accountable when something happens in our life. When somebody is hurting us, something is happening in our life, we do not hold other person accountable. We take accountability, saying that it is because of my past karma. It is because of my past actions I am going through this reaction right now. I'll give you a simple example. You placed an order for iPhone on Amazon. Okay? Now the postman comes and it delivers a iPhone. Nice iPhone. Do you invite the postman immediately, the courier boy immediately to the house, and you worship him, you praise him, you say that, wow, you got me a wonderful gift. You got me iPhone today, I am so happy, you are extremely wonderful person. Do you do that? Why? Because you are the one you ordered and postman simply delivered that item to you. Similarly, if postman delivers something wrong, do you chastise the postman for delivering the wrong item? Still you don't chastise him, because whatever you placed order, that's what is going to be delivered by the postman. Postman is not responsible for whatever happened there, whatever is there in the package. He is just simply a delivery man. Similarly, our mood should be whatever is happening in our lives, any struggles that we are going through in any relationship. If somebody is doing something to us, to hurt us, so we should have the mood that it is because of my own past karma that devotee is acting. He became an instrument in this to teach me something so that I can learn and I can move on. So that should be the mood of a devotee or a practicing devotee with respect to forgiveness. So there are two kinds of people in general. So there is weak persons and wicked persons. Okay? Weak persons and wicked persons. So weak person is the one, a moment of weakness he may commit some mistake. Okay? A weak person is one, by heart he is good. He is good in general. But sometimes he may make some mistakes and hurt some other people. Like Dhritarashtra was a weak person or a wicked person? He was a actually weak person. Dhritarashtra was a weak person. Ravana was a weak person or wicked person. Ravana was a wicked person. Hiranyakashipu was a wicked person. But Dhritarashtra
was repeating the same mistakes,
right. Dhritarashtra was repeating the same mistake, but Dhritarashtra was a weak person, weak-hearted. He was good, but he was getting influenced by his own sons again and again. Because of love, blind love for his son, he was getting influenced. Otherwise, Dhritarashtra also had a soft corner for Pandavas. He was feeling remorse also. He was feeling bad sometimes when things are going on. He knows what he's doing, that he's making a mistake also, he understands. But he was getting influenced by the thoughts of his own sons. Out of blind love, he accepted whatever Duryodhana was asking him to do. So Dhritarashtra was a weak person, but Ravana was a wicked person. So weak person should be forgiven. If a person is a weak, if you know that personality, you know that okay, this is not the person's standard nature. Maybe something is going on in their mind. Maybe something they are going through in their life. That's why they are behaving like this in this particular situation. So we have to give that benefit of doubt, and then we should forgive. Okay? But as soon as we forgive, we should not forget also. We have to be extremely careful and cautious to protect yourself so that the other person doesn't commit again and again same thing to you.
Can
Right?
I ask one question?
2 more minutes.
Yeah. So when the Draupadi Chirharan, Dhritarashtra is weak person or weekend person?
Which one? Krishna's is what?
Yeah,
Draupadi.
Draupadi Chirharan.
Draupadi
time.
Vasrapaharam.
The Draupadi Vastraharan
Yeah,
time. What was the person of Dhritarashtra? Week or weekend?
He was actually Dhritarashtra's mind was he was a weak person. He was always a weak person. That's what. So I said, like for example, in Ramayana, whatever Kaikeyi did. Kaikeyi was a crooked person or a weak person? Kaikeyi was weak. Otherwise, she was very, very wonderful, beautiful lady, beautiful mother. But she got influenced by Manthara, and then she did the act whatever she did. But otherwise, Kaikeyi was a wonderful person. Similarly, in our life also, we also make some mistakes and some weakness sometimes. We get influenced by something. But we have to see the person is always like that. That's what is nature right from the beginning. Like another example from Ramayana, for example, Sita. Sita chastises Lakshmana. When Lakshmana did not want to go to protect Lord Ram, Sita tells harsh words. Because of that weakness, because of that emotion, she says, Lakshmana, you are here to enjoy me. Can anybody say like that to Lakshmana? So, that to Sita, Mother Sita. But she did it like that at that moment. So we have to see when somebody does something to us, we have to hit the pause button. We have to see, is this person always like this? Or is this person acting because of some weakness during that time? So, for your question, basically the entire act was done by Duryodhana, Dushasana and all those 100 sons of Dhritarashtra. Yes, Dhritarashtra could have stopped some things. Yes, you are right. Dhritarashtra could have stopped. But again, because of weakness of his heart, he could not stop it. He could not stop it. Okay.
So, sorry, you have a minute? I can go ahead.
Yeah, go ahead. I think it's at 12:25 also. But anyway, those are some of the points we have to see whether a person is weak or wicked, and we have to forgive them wholeheartedly when somebody makes a mistake, and considering that we are just getting the reaction to our past actions, so that will help us to forgive the person, and forgiveness is only for our benefit. We have to remember always, if you do not forgive somebody, who is going to suffer more? We are going to suffer more. Other person will be very happy. The other person wouldn't even know what you are going through. If you forgive the other person in your heart, it's like mountains of burden is off your chest. Now it's the other person's responsibility what they do. But at least from your side, you are clean and you are good. Your heart is clean, and Supreme Personality Krishna will be extremely happy by your action. As far as forgetting is concerned, yes, it is still practical. We have to see the patterns, and we don't have to forget anything immediately. Forgive immediately, but forget, you have to be cautious. You have to remember for some time, see the patterns the other person is doing, how they are behaving. If they are repeating again and again, then you have to be careful and maintain certain distance. But if the person is transformed, then you should forget what the other person does also. Then you can go back to that. I'll end with one quick incident that happened with Srila Prabhupada. Srila Prabhupada, once he was giving a class, I heard this, once he was giving a class, and all of a sudden somebody stands up in the audience and he started chastising Prabhupada left and right. He started yelling at Prabhupada and saying so many things to Prabhupada. And Prabhupada was simply sitting on the Vyasasana and just listening to whatever that person said. And after rumbling so badly for some time, and then that person walked away from that audience. So then all the disciples of Prabhupada were wondering, what is going on here? Why this person is shouting at Prabhupada like this? And Prabhupada is just keeping quiet and calm. He's not saying anything. Then after the person leaves, the class is over. Then the disciples go and ask Prabhupada. So Prabhupada, what happened? The person was doing all this nonsense and you just kept quiet. You did not do anything. He was blaspheming you. You did not do anything. Then Prabhupada simply says, Krishna let this happen. Krishna let this happen. So that's the reason I just kept quiet. I just let it go because Krishna let this happen. Then why are you quiet? Krishna inspired me to be quiet at that time. That's the reason I am quiet. So anyway, the lesson that we need to, that the higher sense. But at the same time, we cannot say that everything is happening because of ultimately Krishna's will. Krishna is doing this, so I should be, I should let go everything. It's not like that. If a person who is responsible, if a person is in a responsible position, they have to take action. So the forgiveness has to be practiced at an individual level. Okay? As a society, as an organization, if somebody is committing sinful activities, if somebody is committing disturbance in the society, then it is a responsibility of the leaders to take some action. That is for the goodness of the society and for the well-being of the society. So that the other person does not commit more mistakes again and again. To prevent the person from doing more things, so the society, the leader has to take some actions. That's at the society level. But forgiveness has to be practiced at an individual level. So these are some of the thoughts. I mean, forgiveness is a very, very large, huge subject. As I said, I was planning to give 3-part seminar in October or November. So I was preparing for the notes. But this is just I would say, it's a prelude or preview for forgiveness. There are so many pastimes that how Krishna forgave, how Krishna sees only intention, but not the action. Krishna sees the intention, not the action, he forgives. Krishna sees the action, but not the intention, still he forgives. Krishna sees the intention and the action, both are bad. But still, if the person asks for forgiveness, Krishna still forgives. Yeah? So there are many cases. Sometimes intention is good, but the person behaves wrong. How Krishna forgive him? What is one example that you can think of? The intention was good, but the action was not good. Vidura's wife. Vidura's wife gave banana peel. Threw the banana and gave the banana, but banana peel. Krishna, it was not a very offensive thing, but Krishna accepted. What other examples that we can think? Krishna forgave just by looking at the intention, not with the action itself. Putana's intention was bad. I am asking about intention is good, but the action was bad. What is it? Bhishma. Bhishma was a very, very wonderful example where Bhishma was on the side of Kauravas, but his intention was to please Krishna. Yeah? Uttarasura, another example. Like that, there are many examples where the intention is good, but the external action is bad. Krishna forgave them. Let's see an example where the action is good, but the intention was bad. Krishna still forgave. Putana was one of the examples. Putana action was wonderful. She came like a mother, beautiful mother, and gave milk, but her intention was bad to kill Krishna. Krishna, what did he do? Krishna forgave. Right. So, what is another example where the intention was bad, action was bad, but still Krishna forgave? Indra. What is that? You said somebody else said something? Okay. Indra was another beautiful example where Indra wanted to kill all the Brajavasis, right? His intention was bad to kill the Brajavasis. His action was also bad. He sent Samvartaka clouds to do everything. But still, Krishna forgive. So we have such a very kind, loving Father. So we have to learn, imbibe those qualities of forgiveness. How can we develop those kinds of things? By sincerely following the process of sadhana bhakti. Out of all that, one should chant the holy names of the Lord properly. If we chant the holy names of the Lord sincerely, then naturally we are going to develop all these wonderful qualities in our heart. Okay? So we all should chant Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. So thank you all so much for your kind attention for the last 1 hour and tolerating me. If you guys have any question, any burning question, yeah, please go ahead.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So in this Kaliyug, everybody, every day, every minute, we have something or the other going on. That doesn't mean that we can just take that and act and hurt others, because that other person will forgive us for the minute like what we have done. As you said, we need to pause, just think about what they're going through, and then forgive them. If the person repeats that just because, let's say the person is experiencing the problem for a month and he keeps acting the same way for a month just because the other person is forgiving you, he should also held responsible for not doing that. He should also realize that the other person is forgiving you, so you should stop your behavior and realize that you cannot carry forward just because you're going through something. Because we are all are humans, nobody has tolerance. We are not Krishna to forgive everybody.
Yes.
So in that way, how do we tell that person, hey, I know you're going through something, but you've been repeating this. You need to stop this. How can we tell them rather than forgiving them unconditionally?
Yeah.
How do we convey the message to them?
Yeah, so the seminar that I was mentioning, it was a 3-part seminar that I was planning to do. The first part is how Krishna forgives everybody. Intention, action, both are wrong, everything. That was first part. Second part is how we can forgive everybody. What is the mood and why we should forgive everybody. That's the second part. And the third part is how to stop the other person committing the same thing again and again, and how we should not commit those mistakes to other person. How we should be careful not to hurt somebody.
Right.
So your question falls under the third part of the seminar actually. But in general, to give you a simple answer, yes, it is our responsibility to stop the other person committing the same things again. So the first thing we have to do is stay away from that person as much as possible. If the person is repeating same thing, first thing is stay respectable distance. You still love them, that's fine, but keep respectable distance.
If that person
Number
is
2,
at home.
what is
If that person is at home.
I was about to ask that sometimes what happens, avoiding them will actually make things complicated. So it's better helping them. Conveying is nothing but helping that person.
Yeah.
I feel like helping is
Yes,
nothing but
absolutely.
forgiveness.
I'm coming to that point. So to address your question, so if the person is at home, then we should ask Sri Radha how she is dealing with this. Sri Radha is his wife, by the way. Yeah. So and then we have to inform that person through some channel where that person is. Let's say there is some person who he or she respects. So then you can convey that message to the person, right? Because not everybody listens to everybody. Like if I go and tell somebody, they may not care about you. Forget it. But if you know some channels where you can convey the message to the person will be little careful also. Yes. So there are 2 parts. One is we are trying to stay away from that person so that we don't get hurt again and again. But at the same time, that message has to be conveyed to the other person by looking at the patterns. If it is repeating, but if it's one-time thing, that's okay.
Right.
Move on, right? But if it's repeating, yes, some way that message has to be conveyed to the other person. And once the person is completely reformed, that he is not committing any mistakes, another big lesson we have to learn is we do not have to remind that person again and again. We forgive that also. Then say, you did this 10 years ago. So once the person is transformed, reformed, then we should not even bring that point again and again. Because there is no point bringing it. It's not going to help anybody. Right? So that's another lesson when it comes to forgiveness. So forgive and forget is practical, but it needs lot of practice and higher vision and higher consciousness. So we have to come to that higher consciousness, which will only help us more than anybody else. Okay, so we will stop here. Srila Prabhupada ki jai.
Ram Tirtha Prabhu ki jai. Devotees will put the mats on the corners, and I would like to request Srila Prabhu to do it.
Jai Shri Shri Radha Vrindavan Network ki jai. Shri Shri Jagannath Baladev Subhadra ki jai. Shri Shri Gaur Nitai ki jai. Thank you devotees for watching on YouTube. Hare Krishna.